Well, I don't think I ever dreamt that, and I didn't know that I was going to be a plastic surgeon, but I always wanted to be a surgeon. That's right from early childhood is what I wanted to be, and plastic surgery is just an aspect of surgery where one can see one's results. Sometimes it can be quite simple, like being a carpenter. Not that being a carpenter is that simple, but it's got the same sort of skills, and that's what I enjoy, seeing the results. I introduced it through my next door neighbour, in fact. My next door neighbour had heard that there was a man in Paris that was doing liposuction. And she asked me about it, and I said, I've never heard of it, it's rubbish, it's dangerous against all the principles of surgery, and it wouldn't work. And she kept telling me, kept asking me, and then one day she came in and she said, well, I've had it done. And she'd been to Paris to see Dr. Illouz, and she'd had it done on a Tuesday, and on the Saturday she was out riding a horse. So I thought there must be something in it, and so I went out to Paris to see Dr. Illouz. So then I brought it back to England and tried to persuade people here that it was a good idea, and it took a lot of persuasion. All my colleagues said it was dangerous and unsavoury. Carrying out 17,000 liposuction procedures does remove an awful lot of fat, and I suppose on average I'd be removing perhaps 1 kilogram on each occasion. So that's 17,000 kilograms, which is quite a large mountain. People that come for liposuction are not all overweight. They're all weights. Some are skinny, because we treat some people who are even bulimic. It sounds odd, but I could explain that another time. But it is, we treat skinny people and people who have just normal weight but have a particular bulge that's a problem. But then of course fat people also have problems. It's very easy to say, well, they're fat, they must lose weight, but they still have exactly the same basic shape of body which they want to change. Sometimes we're treating people who just want to get a kick start on their diet. They feel if only they could just do this and then they could move on. And oddly enough, that seems to work for quite a lot of people. And then there are people who have a particular problem because of their obesity. For instance, the inner thighs might rub together and they become sore. Like trousers, jeans wear out. Hot weather's a problem. And so we would treat just that area in a large person. Motivation is usually how people feel about themselves, and I think people who get fatter begin to avoid looking at themselves in the mirror, and they feel embarrassed, they don't want to go to the beach, they can't go on holidays, their clothes don't fit, and their self-respect is lost. I mean, that's, I think, is the main motivation, although when people get older, and that would have applied to me, I then became worried about my health, that I was in line to become diabetic. There was no particular reason for me to be diabetic, except I was of a certain age and overweight. And so that was another big motivation for me. I've recently lost quite a lot of weight, 3 stone, about 20 kilograms, which I did using the PronoKal diet, and it's been marvellous. I had been wanting to lose weight or even thought of trying to lose weight for quite some time. I'd got into the exercise regime, and I had personal trainers. I had two actually, one for London and one for the country. And I quite enjoyed that, being fitter, but I didn't really lose any weight. And then I got a stress fracture of my knee from running on the roads, when being rather overweight too. So I was ready for the appropriate diet. I like it because it's professional, it's well organised, well backed up with scientific research. And for me, I like it because it's not faddy. I shy away from faddy diets. I like to think that it's properly based. Another reason why I like it is that I didn't really have to make any decisions other than the decision to start the diet. And once I had made that decision, which was helped by my doctor neighbours, then I knew as soon as I started the diet that I was going to achieve the result. There wasn't any other option. It was just that decision, and then I was on the diet, and I was going to achieve the result that I was looking for, or the doctor and myself together decided we were aiming for. As it happened, I achieved that result quite easily, and we actually did move the goalposts forward, and I lost more weight. For me, it was very important to have a very structured diet like PronoKal. I'm not someone that can really just have enough control to diet. I mean, I tried all sorts of ways in the past, including exercise. I'd done a lot of exercise for some time, but I didn't lose weight. So the structured method is, for me, the perfect one, and it's why I actually now recommend it to my patients. I liken it to standing on the edge of a swimming pool. It's very cold and you don't want to dive in, but once you take the plunge and start the PronoKal diet and you plunge in, you know that there's no going back and that you're going to get to the other end of the pool. And that's how it was for me. I think there was no deviation at all. And I had all the support, I had all the very good dietitians, which I thought were fantastically good, and of course the medical support too, which for me was also important because I had high blood pressure. So I think I would recommend it absolutely. Well, I didn't feel too good for the first 2 days, and I can remember I started the diet on a Friday, so I had my ordinary working week, and I had the weekend ahead of me, and I remember on the Sunday morning saying to my wife, as I was lying in bed, I don't think I shall get up, I think I shall just stay here. And then by about 11 o'clock in the morning, I felt fine, and I felt good. And I felt good right the way through to the end of the diet. So yes, I felt as good as one could, and I felt sort of better because I was feeling slightly elated most of the time. Very motivating, losing the weight quickly and to stand on the scales, and it was exciting, and to find the clothes were loose. Well, I think that because I've kept the weight down now for some time, and the thing that's been really extraordinary to me is that I have been re-educated in my diet. I thought it would be impossible for me to change my dietary habits because I have a very sweet tooth, and but I have changed to my absolute surprise. I'm not eating cakes and chocolate, and I don't seem to mind. Now I think I could get back into my old ways, but it isn't really a problem, and not to put sugar on things is no problem. In fact, I don't like the sugar now. I don't want it. So to have my fruit without sugar is however bitter it is, and I find other people say, oh, this is rather sharp, I'm going to put some sugar on. Well, I don't need to do that. So I am re-educated. I have to say I do eat a little bit more bread than I should do, because I rather like it, but it doesn't seem to matter too much. Yes, I mean, obviously that's the way it works, and it's worked for me extremely well, and I presume that it worked for everybody else. I mean, I think I'd be one of the harder people to convince that they should eat differently. And the exercise that I was taking before and failed to lose weight with, and which gave me a stress fracture in the knee. I've gone back to doing exercise again now, and I find I'm much better at it. When I'm at home, if I go for a run, I have to run up a hill into the village. It's quite a steep hill, and previously I used to find it very difficult. I was counting the lampposts as I ran up the hill, and every now and stopping as well. Now I can just run up the hill and round and all the way back again without stopping. It's not an issue. That's very pleasing. Well, I've managed to keep my weight at stable level for about 18 months, which I feel somehow, if I can do it for 18 months, then I can do it forever. Because it's not difficult now. I think so, but you know, one has one's doubts, because you know how people do put weight back on very often, and or they put on more than they had to begin with. But it actually, for me, just following the diet closely and having that support, I've managed it without too much trouble. I think the dietitians are really useful, and I think although I'm not bothering them all the time, they're always there, and I do telephone, and in fact, because now I do uh, keep in touch, because I go along and buy some more bars, which I find very useful, and I eat one or two of those a day. And I make a point of actually going along to buy them rather than just getting them sent through the post, because it just gives me an opportunity just to say a couple of words and get a bit of advice and encouragement. I recommend PronoKal to everybody that wants to lose weight, because if you've only a little bit to lose, then you can lose it quickly, get to the weight you want. But for people like me who have had quite a lot to lose, it was a very painless way. I didn't feel unwell. I managed to keep working normally. I didn't take as much exercise, but I don't think that mattered. I felt good. No, I think it's the ideal way to lose weight.